All right, everybody, we're going to go ahead and get started. Before we get going, let me just say Happy New Year to everyone. And this is all about this year, 2019, and we're talking about the Tampa data trends that will definitely impact your business. So this quick, fast-paced webinar is presented by the company I work for, which is SME, and we will talk a little bit more about that in a second. But before we go any further, let me give you my promise for this particular webinar. By the end of this presentation, here are the two things I really want you to get out of it. You will know more about the trends in data that will definitely affect your business in 2019. After all, that is why you probably signed up to watch this webinar, or you're watching it on LinkedIn. And then also, more importantly, what you can do about it now, regardless of how big or small your business is. Now, look, this is going out to, there's many of you on this webinar right now that have varying size companies here in the Tampa Bay area. And what I really want you to get out of this webinar is that it really doesn't matter. Yeah, absolutely. With more resources, more money, there will become bigger problems, right, for bigger companies. But it really doesn't matter. I'm here to tell you as a small business owner myself that you can do a lot with data if you really just put your mind to it. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So before we get going any farther, I wanted to start with this quote because I thought it was really impactful. Despite the constant evolution of rules, the important thing is that knowledge is power. Those that can best pull knowledge from information will win the prize. The title won't matter much. At the end of the day, it is totally about amassing and wielding knowledge. So there's a lot of cool stuff in there, and that's by Pam Baker, by the way. There's some cool parts of that quote that I really like. First and foremost, if we just take the word data and insert it into this quote, those who can basically pull knowledge out of the data that they have, the information that they have, are going to win. Those who do it best will win. And it really doesn't matter what titles you give them. The companies that are able to do it will win. Because at the end of the day, it's really just about amassing and understanding the data or information that you have and increasing your knowledge overall. So I thought it was a great quote to get started. Okay, a little bit about me. That's me in the picture there. Here's the way I like to describe myself. I'm a data storyteller. Now, that's not necessarily an official title, or maybe it is at some companies, but the goal here is for me to not only just talk about the numbers, but to make sure that they're numbers and data that actually tell a story. And that story should be explaining to businesses how they can get the most out of that data. Because it really doesn't help if you can just put a PowerPoint together and say, here are the numbers. We've all been in meetings like that with the humdrum and the drone, excuse me, the drone of, just analytics and numbers and numbers and numbers. But what is that? What are those numbers telling me? What are they saying to do? What are the qualified decisions that I can make and actions I can take right now from that? And that's what I try to focus on. But that's not really where my whole background has been. Although I've worked with data for really my whole professional career, I've been a business owner for the past 8 years here in the Tampa Bay area. I owned a brick and mortar business and still own a online nutrition business. And then my online nutrition business serves clients worldwide. So I have a lot of experience talking with clients and talking about their own personal data in nutrition and what that means to them and what they can do from it. I began working with SME really just to bring my unique experiences as a business owner and passion for data and telling those stories to businesses around the country and, of course, here in the Tampa Bay area. I'm also a former firefighter of 8 years. I've been married for 13, and I am the father of a wonderful 8-year-old daughter. So I've had some really unique experiences, and I believe it's all those unique experiences that allow me to do the job that I do with SME, and it's actually a lot of fun for me. So let's talk about SME. Who are we? What's the company about? Well, SME Solutions Group is a consulting firm, and really the goal here at our company is to create a single version of the truth. You may have heard that term before, but we really take it to heart. And really what we're trying to do is work with companies to take multiple disparate sets of data and bring it into one central location using a variety of different tools. We don't use just one software or one process. We use whatever tool works best for that client or that business, and we put it all in one place. And then once we do that, we also help them extract decisions out of that. Like I said, that's more of the storytelling. What is this actually even telling you, and what can you do with this data now that you have it all in one place? So we really focus on a couple of premier services, obviously business intelligence integration, which is kind of what I was just talking about, and obviously data analytics. But we also work on process improvement and things like project management. So we're able to help companies really in a lot of different facets of their business and help them really go from maybe not understanding their data or having it in multiple locations or duplicate Excel files, which we see all the time. Things have just gotten out of control over the years, and the data is now on many different places. It's in many different places, or let's put it another way, different parts of the company are making their own data sets, but they're not necessarily sharing it with somebody else. So it's the same data. It may be telling you some of the same information, but there's a duplication of effort there. And we're able to help companies really simplify that process and make their life really easy. I can't tell you how many stories we have from clients where they said, XYZ process used to take me or take our company 6 hours to produce, like something like a financial end of month report. And now they're able to do it really on demand, if you can believe that. If, they're looking at the numbers pretty much any time, any day they want, pulling in the most recent data within 15 seconds of when it last loaded. So really amazing stuff. Okay, before we dig into these data trends for 2019, here's something I just want to point out. Now, Gartner, who you might be familiar with, always puts out a prediction, sort of like I'm doing in this video, of important trends. And this video right here is from the 2019 YouTube video that they have. They talk about 10 trends to watch. But here's the thing I want you to know. They also did the same thing in 2018 and probably 2017 before that. And, almost 8 out of the 10 of these trends are the same. So why am I pointing this out if I'm also talking about trends? Well, I just want to make the point that these trends are, not just isolated within one particular year. They're not going away. A lot of these trends have been around for years, in some cases decades, but they've evolved and moved along the way. I'm sure we haven't had the technology necessarily that we have today, but a lot of these trends have been around. So I just want to make the point that these trends, think of these less as 2019 trends and more just about data trends that can help you in your business. And they're going to be here in 2019 and 2020, and they may change names, but ultimately it'll be the same. All right, we got this great big, beautiful picture of some island, hopefully in the tropics somewhere. Your business is not an island. So before we get into these next trends, I want to emphasize, you may feel like an island. You may feel like everybody else is working with data, is doing something cool with data, is producing these amazing dashboards and visualizations with data, and I'm not doing it. And I'm going to tell you, as somebody who owns their own small business and has been right where you are probably, and somebody who works for a consulting business who works with other companies about data, I can tell you, you're definitely not an island. More than not, people are just starting, or companies are just starting to figure out what their business intelligence solution is going to be, and they're starting to create that roadmap. Sometimes they're a little bit far along. The maturity is a little bit higher in BI, but in most cases, there's still a lot of work to do. So don't feel like the whole world has passed you by if you do, and it doesn't matter what size company you work for. If you're listening to this webinar right now and you are the one that wears all the hats, you're fine. If you are the CIO, CFO, or just data analyzer for a company and you're watching this for a larger company in Tampa, don't worry. Your company is probably working on this every day as well, and there's still a lot of ground to make up. So let's dig right in. The first thing I want to talk about, the first trend I want to talk about is dark data. All right, so dark data is essentially all the stuff that your company isn't using or you're not currently using. So let me give you an example of this. I mentioned that I had my own small business. My wife and I have run it for several years now, and it focuses on nutrition consultation and programming. So it's not a supplement company. It's a company that deals with actual nutrition programming for clients all around the world. And we get in data all the time. As you can imagine, people have to tell us a fair bit of amount of personal data to start with about, what their goals are, body weight percentages, so on and so forth, right? In order for us to figure out how to best help them. Well, If all that data is coming into the system, and for a long time it did, and it's just sitting there, well, that's essentially dark data. It's not being used, and more importantly, it equals lost opportunities, because if I'm not doing anything with that data, it certainly can't help me. So what if there are trends within that data that I wasn't aware of? What if the majority of my clients turned out to be 35-year-old females with 2 kids? What if that was something that I found out? Wouldn't that be super helpful for me in order to, really super focus my targeted efforts, so that when I'm talking to my client, I'm talking specifically to 35-year-old, moms, females, right? So that's just one example, obviously. So dark data is what's not being used, and it does turn into lost opportunities. So what can you do right now? Well, first things first, you got to take stock of what you have. So, if you are running a small business, then this is the great time. 2019, we're only a few days into the year. This is a great time to start thinking about what kind of data you already bring in for your company in whatever, vertical you happen to be working in. And then, think about what maybe you would like to know about or from that data, and then start working towards a solution that's going to allow you to start utilizing it, because it's valuable and you don't want it just sitting there. It's not going to do anything for you. So the realization that there's so much dark data out there in the world, and that there's so many more insights that companies can grab, just like that first quote said, it's really about the person who amasses the most knowledge, right? And the way you amass the most knowledge is by turning dark data into usable data. All right, the next thing I want to talk about as far as a trend are hybrid clouds. Now, hybrid clouds are just a way of saying that it's no longer necessary for companies to house all of their information on maybe a local server or in a cloud server. There's certainly options for both of those. What we are seeing as a trend when we work with our clients, in fact, one of our biggest clients right now currently uses a hybrid cloud solution. So I told you kind of what they are, and how can they help you? Well, they can help you simply by knowing that you don't have to build out, some huge, massive, server on site in order to achieve some of the goals you might have. In fact, there's many, many hybrid solutions that actually may work perfectly for you. And it's something that's definitely a trend, because it used to be one or the other, and not necessarily working together. And we're finding that the companies that we work with are having great success by creating these hybrid solutions. And, it's something that SME, works hand in hand with our clients with. So what can you do right now with hybrid clouds? Well, again, first, you got to look at the data. If you're just starting your data journey and you don't know, dark data versus what's usable, that's fine. If you're already at a point in your company where you're already using data day in and day out and starting to get some usable insights from it, that's fine as well. It really depends on where you're at, because not all size companies obviously are going to need these massive hybrid solutions. But again, you also don't have to be a big company to use this. There's many, many cloud solutions out there right now that might be very usable to you, that allow you to use, power beyond what you're able to do on site at your business. And then also, some people really love the security of knowing that, their most sensitive data is on site, and that is protected heavily. So if that's something that's important to you as well, well, then now you have a hybrid solution that you sort of can work with both of your goals. All right, predictive analytics is really just, what does it mean? It means, extracting information from your existing data in order to predict future outcomes. So, pretty easy, right? We're looking at the data that you currently have and then basically making, the best guesses we can going forward. But they're bigger than guesses, because if we can look at the data, we can start to look at the trends that we have in the past, and then we can extrapolate going forward. And now there are some really, really smart algorithms and systems that are allowing you to do this very, very quickly. In fact, almost in real time. So it's a big trend, because not that people are moving beyond data analytics or beyond business intelligence. It's just the next step of it. So you're going beyond today's data and starting to tell tomorrow's story. And that's really, really important for businesses going forward, because if you can start to do predictive analytics and obviously, you're forecasting for the next month or whatever, and you're starting to see those numbers come true, obviously that could be a huge tool, because it's sort of like predicting the future without obviously knowing what's going to happen in the future. All right, fourth and final trend that I wanted to talk about is data literacy. Now, this is something you will hear me talk about a lot during 2019. Now, there is a saying that data is the new oil, and that is absolutely true in the sense that it's immensely valuable, and it does, just like oil, have to be extracted and refined in order to be usable, right? You can't just take it straight out of the ground. You actually have to manipulate that data a little bit. But what I think is data is the new language. So yes, it is the new oil and it is very, very valuable. But to me, where my passion is helping people understand how to read, write, and communicate data as a language. Because I really feel like not only that, the people like ourselves that are watching this that are already in the business world and maybe already working with data, but there's a huge potential for the youth and children to start learning how to read, write, and understand and communicate with data, because those that can do that are going to have a step up in the world going forward. So I think data literacy is a huge trend, that it's something you definitely want to pay attention to. If you don't consider yourself data literate, there's a couple different things you can do. Well, one of the ones I really like are one of the companies I really like, or programs I should say, is the Data Literacy Project. And you can see the website right there at dataliteracy.org. And let me see if I can go to the video here, and we're just going to pause real quick so you guys can sort of see their intro to learn a little bit more about them, and then I'll talk more about it.
Tracking peaks and troughs can save lives. Knowing your X from your Y-axis can predict who you'll fall in love with. And spotting patterns can take your business overseas. But most of the world sees gobbledygook, so it can't unlock potential. With automation, robotics, and artificial intelligence, data will become a universal language. Together, we can build a data-literate culture for all. And together, we can all be data brilliant. Ready?
Okay, so let me get back on that slide a little bit. I'm not sure that you were able to really hear the video on there, and I apologize for that. Basically, it was just a quick intro to the Data Literacy Project, just talking about why data literacy is important, which I sort of already spoke to you about. Here's what I will say. If you feel like you or your company could do better, or maybe you're a data literacy champion within your company, which is even better, and I would love to reach out to you if that's the case, because it's possible we can work together in order to help improve data literacy at your company. But really what my goal is, like I said, is to just make people aware, people that are already in business as well as youth. Go out and speak in the community and talk about data literacy. Talk about the free tools that are already out there, like the Data Literacy Project and so many others that can help you get to that point. There's a quote, and I don't have it here, a percentage, talking about how many CFOs that were surveyed who admit to really not being data literate, or not to the level that they thought they should be, and as well as CEOs and other C-suite type employees. So I think it's really, really important that we do better in this area, and I definitely believe it's a trend that's going to go much farther than 2019. My suggestion is get on it now. So you may actually be ahead of a little bit of your competition when new technologies come out and we're reading data faster and things are starting to speed up, and you're going to say, you know what, this is not a problem for me because I can keep up and I understand how to read, write, and communicate with data. So let's just sort of stop for a second here and really just sort of think about what I've talked about. Can you do all this on your own? Well, yeah, absolutely you can. Even if you're a small business owner, like I said, my wife and I own a small business and really are the only two that wear hats in the entire organization. Anything else that we do, we either try to do ourselves for many years. Then also, we have to contract out and get, smarter people to help us in areas like coding and things like that for our website. But can you do this on your own? Well, I'm here to tell you you can. It's hard work. You have to become data literate. You have to look at things like dark data. You have to, figure out the questions that you really want to get answered first. A lot of people go about it the wrong way, and they say, this is really cool. Let me put all my data in one place, but they never really think about the questions that they want to answer. But if you think about the questions you want to answer first, it makes it much easier for consulting companies like SME or yourself to say, okay, now that I know what it is that I want to know, I can now build a system of data and a dashboard and a visualization that's going to be the best representation of that and actually give me the answers that I need. So I hope that makes sense. If you don't do it on your own, you can also find help. And again, SME is a great example of that. We help companies all the time with things like business intelligence and data analytics. So really, what's the conclusion here? And I kind of like this photo of the big old ship, because one of our our bigger partners that we work with is Port Tampa Bay, and they're just amazing partners, amazing people to work with, and we've had a really great run with them in 2018, and we'll continue to do so in 2019 and beyond. So I just always love this picture of this big container ship, because Port Tampa Bay is doing some amazing things, and we've done a lot of great things with them. But what's the conclusion that I want you to take from this? Well, first and foremost, like I said, you're not an island. So if you take anything away from this quick webinar, simply take away the fact that it's not too late. 2019 is a great time, especially the third day of 2019 is a great time to jump on this. If you don't know where to start with something simple like looking for dark data. Start with something simple like going to the dataliteracyproject.org and looking for more information there on how you can become better educated. It's free. There's nothing you have to pay for to do that. You just have to set some time aside and, try to become a little more educated. And if you're the champion of your company, there's a lot of resources on there as well on how to help your company become data literate. And again, I can also help you with that as well. Speaking of data literacy, I do just want to point out that, one of the places you will definitely see more of me in 2019 is going around and talking about it. So if you feel like your company could benefit from that, definitely reach out to me, because I'd love to come over to your company and, just talk about data literacy and talk about what it means to me, how it's helped me in the past, how we've helped other companies, and what your company can do about it to make it part of your culture. So the big thing here is make it happen, right? 2019 is now. There's we're at the beginning of the year, resolutions and everything else. I would say it's time to move forward with this, because the data revolution is already here. And there's no better time than now. It's a super exciting time to be working with data. The technologies that are coming out, the advancements with some of the softwares that we work with already and partner with are amazing. And it seems like now every 3 to 4 months they're coming out with huge new innovations that work with their product and make our jobs easier. And if it makes our jobs easier as consultants, well, certainly it's going to make our clients' jobs easier as well. And that's ultimately the whole goal here, right? Is to not only take data and convert it from dark to, usable data, but then to take multiple data sources and put them, disparate sources and get them in one place. But even that's not enough, because then we have to look at that data and we say, okay, well, what were the questions we even wanted to answer? Because this is really pretty, but it's not telling me anything. Okay, now let's figure out how to get it to tell the story, right? Be that data storyteller. Like I said, I like to think of myself as. But even further than that, okay, now it's telling me a story, but what answers am I getting from this? And what usable information is going to help me drive success and profit at the end of it? So it can seem like a long roadmap, but again, putting these steps in place now will reap huge benefits going forward. And you can always contact me at bemisari@smesgroup.com, or definitely hit me up on LinkedIn, because you'll definitely see me talking more about data literacy in the future, both on LinkedIn as well as around the community. But it's also a great place to link up and have some discussions and, get to know each other. So definitely find me on LinkedIn, as well as SME's LinkedIn page as well. Okay, so these are the last things I'm going to leave you with, because I just like these. I have 3 quotes here, and I just wanted to sort of send you off onto your 2019 data journey with these 3. So this one says, most of the world will make decisions by either guessing or using their gut. They will either be lucky or wrong. And that's from the CEO of Mixpanel. So the picture behind that is of a house fire. And as I mentioned, I was a firefighter. So I had, I had an extraordinary career, albeit short, as a firefighter. I was a firefighter for about 8 years. And I got to run into burning buildings, and I pulled people to safety, and I did some amazing things as part of the team of men and women that I worked with. But the reason I put a fire picture behind this one is, I worked with some amazing fire chiefs, who would roll up on a fire scene, look at a house fire, and they didn't just see what a rookie would see. A rookie would look at that and say, fire, give me the hose, put me in. And more than one time as a rookie at 23 years old, I had a captain literally grab me by the scruff, right by the back of my turnout gear, my coat, and say, whoa, hold on a second. Because they saw something, right? They were using their intuition and looking at the whole picture and saying, based on everything I've seen in the past, this is what I think is going on here. I think we should attack this way, that way, or there's some issues here that maybe somebody newer wouldn't see. And I just think that speaks very well to the idea of data. Now, a house fire is a very live thing, and it'd be very hard to throw data at it real time. But I guarantee you, in the 15 years since I started being a firefighter, they've made some huge improvements in that area, and they are using data now even more with live fires. And in the future, it'll become even more amazing. The big thing here is that don't guess, don't use your gut, because either you're going to be lucky or wrong. Use data, drive decisions with things that you know are true and facts, and build from there. The second one here is it's difficult to imagine the power that you're going to have when so many different stories of data are available. Sorts of data are available. That makes a lot more sense, right? So let me try that again. It's difficult to imagine the power that you're going to have when so many different sorts of data are available. And I think about this all the time. I do sort of lean back sometimes, and I have this sort of worldly view, and I get really excited, if you can't tell already, that I do love data. And the reason I love it so much is that it's that knowledge, right? It's that thirst for knowledge. It's that the power that, not in a bad way, but the power that I feel like I will have, and how much stronger and smarter I'm becoming when I understand more data. And the more times I can pull in more actionable, pieces of information, and I can do new things with it that I couldn't do yesterday, that's an amazing feeling. And so it is difficult to imagine, because things are moving so fast. But the thing you can do right now is get on board, right? And last but not least, sort of a last quote here to just sort of pump the brakes a little bit, right? And that's, torture the data and it will confess to anything. And that comes from a Nobel Prize winner. I love this quote, because I do think it's a cautionary tale of, yes, absolutely, more data, better, yeah, right? Okay, well, true. More data is better to a fault. You can torture the data and it'll confess to anything. So if you already go in with a bias of, the answer that you want to get on the outside, and you're not careful, you can definitely make your data tell you that answer. So it's just sort of a cautionary tale, and I just think it's a great, succinct quote, which is probably best about it is it says so much in about 7 words there. But just sort of some of my favorite quotes to sort of send you on your way. I hope you've gotten something out of this quick webinar today. It's been a short, fast 30 minutes, but I really have had fun talking about this. I'm obviously really excited about 2019, not only with, the new advancements in data analytics, but all the things we're going to get to do at SME, how many more businesses we're going to get to talk to and discuss this with and help. It's the best part of the job, honestly. So that is it. I hope you guys had a great day. I hope you guys have a great 2019. I hope you had a wonderful new year. And hey, I'm here. If you need to reach out, I'll be happy to help you out in any way. I hope to see or meet you soon.